Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you today about the carbon management system and the technologies that are combined uniquely to create a system where we can capture, transport, utilize, or store carbon dioxide. The focus of my remarks today are primarily going to be about carbon storage, but I like to think about carbon management as a full system, and you're going to hear a great deal more about utilization and capture from some of the other people in this session, but I thought I would give the overall picture. So what happens in carbon management is that we're capturing carbon dioxide from a point source or directly removing it from the atmosphere. We're transporting that carbon dioxide via pipeline, ship, or truck to a location where it can either be utilized for something or stored for permanent geologic storage. And that entire system is depicted in this figure. Carbon capture happens from different emission sources, either chemically or physically using solvents, membranes. And as I mentioned, there's two main methods to capture carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. One is mitigation, which is to capture it before it goes into the atmosphere, and one is removal, where you're directly removing it from the atmosphere. Utilization is using that carbon dioxide in some other material to create chemicals, grow algae for biofuels or animal feed, and there's a variety of different ways that you can utilize carbon dioxide by making it into a viable feedstock for other products. Transportation is simply moving carbon dioxide from one location to another. And then we get to carbon storage. So carbon storage is the physical, permanent, deep underground storage of carbon dioxide in geologic formations. And so what do I actually mean by that? So the Earth stores water, saline water or brine, which is super salty, maybe 6 or 7 times saltier than the ocean, oil and natural gas in pore spaces in rock units beneath the surface. So this picture is what we call a photomicrograph. It's essentially a very thin slice of a rock, and everything that you see in blue is a pore space, or a space where rocks don't touch but are filled with some sort of fluid. The principle of geologic storage is that we're harnessing the Earth's natural trapping system to store carbon dioxide. So we have what we call sinks and seals. And so a rock that has a set of pore spaces, open spaces in it, is a place where you could store liquid carbon dioxide in the salty brine that's in place. We look for rocks that have a specific property called porosity and permeability. So porosity is the volume of pore space that exists in a rock formation, and the permeability is the connectedness of those pore spaces. So for example, something like a Swiss cheese, which has a lot of holes, but they aren't very well connected, might have high porosity, but low permeability, which does not necessarily make it ideal for carbon storage. On the other hand, if you take an alpine lace cheese, which has lots of little holes that are pretty well connected, that is a porous and permeable rock type, if it's not cheese, that allows you to store carbon dioxide. Because essentially what you're doing is you are capturing carbon dioxide from a source, you're compressing that, purifying it, removing any water, and creating a liquid-like carbon dioxide that gets transported to a wellhead and then gets injected and stored in a specific sandstone or other porous rock formation deep in the surface. And then you keep that carbon dioxide in place and ensure that it doesn't leak upward by having a different rock type on top of it, which is very, very low permeability, such as a shale. And so what you have essentially is this package of rocks where one acts as a storage unit and the other acts as a seal. So we look at different properties when we're looking at characterizing rock formations. So the injectivity, can you put carbon dioxide into the rock formation? Capacity, how much carbon dioxide can you put into the rock formation? And containment, do you have an appropriate seal? Do you have a thick seal that allows you to keep that carbon dioxide in the rock formation? The other thing that's incredibly important and vital to carbon storage is site characterization and then subsequent monitoring. So when you are determining where to store carbon dioxide, you're looking for the rock types and the rock properties that we just talked about. But you're also you're looking for what do you know about the geologic complex that allows you to ensure and build a system that is safe for storage. So what we do ahead of time is we characterize the site. We do essentially seismic, we take seismic studies, which are sort of like taking a sonogram of the Earth, where we send energy waves down and reflect back and record, and we get a picture of what the Earth looks like in the subsurface where we're interested in. We drill wells, we take rock samples, we do environmental testing and characterization of the surface. We do all of that before we apply for permits for the storage of carbon dioxide, and I'll talk just a little bit about that in a minute. And so we pre-characterize, and then once you build your infrastructure, your safe wells that use carbon dioxide resistant materials, then you have a monitoring system that you utilize in place. So you've taken you've characterized the environment beforehand, you continue to monitor during injection of carbon dioxide, and then you're required by federal law to monitor a site for decades afterwards, on the order of 50 to 100 years, depending on where you are. And you do that through a variety of different techniques at a variety of different locations. Some happen at the surface and in the soil, some happen in the shallow groundwater, and some of those monitoring technologies happen very deep in the subsurface in the location where the carbon dioxide is being stored. So the safety really comes in part from this whole characterization and sequence of monitoring and information gathering that happened before, during, and after the storage of carbon dioxide, but they are regulated by federal law through the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Underground Injection Control Program, which is in place as a function of the Safe Drinking Water Act. And so there's a specific class of well for the storage of carbon dioxide. You have to apply either to the federal regional office, depending on your location, or if your state has primacy for Class 6, and you have to set up a rigorous testing system and reporting system that shows that you are continuing to operate a safe and viable carbon dioxide system. With that, I will close my remarks. I think that you're in for a very interesting set of talks and sessions today. And I want to encourage any of you to seek more information and just emphasize how important it is to understand the factual basis of the technology and the amount of testing and work that has been happening in this space for about the last 30 years, which also builds on a century worth of exploration in the deep subsurface. So I wish you a very successful conference and look forward to hearing from you if you want to reach out and contact me. Thank you.